Hi, Sangeeta.
Great. Am
Good to
I
see
audible? Can
you
you hear me?
very much. And visible too.
Yeah, okay, great, great.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Yeah, I can see you as well and hear you too. So, okay, I think maybe, oh wow, we have a lot of people joining in. Preeti says hi. Hi, Preeti. Hi, everyone. Okay, guys, so if you can see us and hear us clearly, please give a thumbs up in the comment section. I'll repeat, if you can hear us clearly, please give a thumbs up in the comment section. Everyone's saying hi, Aditi, just by the way.
Hi. Hi.
Okay,
Asha's here. Hi,
okay,
Asha.
okay, great. We are audible. Okay, good. Then I guess we can get started. We have quite a few people who've already joined us. So, hi everyone. Welcome to another episode of Book Talk. And we have Adithi Rao with us for a second time on this session. And we're very happy to have her. For those who may not be aware, Adithi Rao is a children's book writer, but she also writes plays, films, and short stories. She has worked as an assistant director on the Hindi film Satya, and the rights to her film script Baraf have also been sold. She's written another book with Tulika called Noon Chai and a Story, but we're here to talk about her second book, Will Goondi Come Home? So thank you for being here, Aditi. I'm so excited to talk to you today about this book.
Thank you so much for having me. And I'm so excited about this new book. Before I say anything more, I just want to say hi to all the people who are saying hi to me. Vansh, Achala's here, Vikas is here, all such like people who are so dear. Thank you for making the time, Asha, for being here.
Yeah, we have quite a few people, and it's really exciting also, I think, especially for this particular book. But I think the first thing I do want to ask you is, how did you get, and I think just to give some context to before getting into it, so Will Gundi Come Home is this really sweet story about a girl from an Irula fishing village, and it's a story about her and her friendship with a rooster. So that's pretty much the premise of the book. I don't want to give anything more. But having said that, the first question I do want to ask is, Aditi, how did you kind of get the idea for this story?
Um, So, okay, you asked me how I came upon the idea for the
Yes.
story. So you
Yeah.
keep breaking up. So I just want to make sure I'm answering the right
Oh,
question.
okay.
Okay. I think
Okay,
network's
okay.
not great. It's raining here quite heavily, Sangeeta. So maybe there's
Okay.
something with the network. The idea for the story came when I was traveling. I was directing a project, and I had a little group of interns with me. We needed to
Okay.
do on-ground research because we were trying to foster interest in education among the Irular children, particularly. That's a whole other story. The ground realities of education in certain parts of the country it's a huge challenge. So we needed to actually go there and research.
Right.
And when I'm saying research, I mean actually interact with people to know what we are working with and what we are working for, and what would be the most effective method to reach out and to sort of forge a bond. Because, and I'm not talking about necessarily a face-to-face bond. Eventually it has to come out where the project that we work on and the outcome should be able to forge a bond and sort of resonate with these children. So we traveled and we spent a fair amount of time with them, and it was very nice. It was an eye opener for us, and also inspired a lot of creative thinking, one of which turned out to be Will Goondi Come Home.
Okay. Yeah, no, because it's a lovely story, and like I said, it's a story of friendship between a girl and a rooster, which kind of got me curious as to why did you choose a rooster? Because honestly, in this setting, Gundi could have also been a dog or a cat or anything else, and a rooster is such an atypical creature to place in this story. So I was just curious why.
I think, well, for two reasons. One is because it was atypical, it caught my eye. Will Goondi Come Home is inspired from the life of the true story of a little girl called Lakshmi, whom we met, and I managed to spend some time with in her own village, in her home village. And so she was playing with dogs and she was playing with cats, but I think the relationship that she had with this particular rooster called Gundi really struck me. I have never seen a child like this. I mean, I know a lot of kids love animals, they bond with animals, but this child was just different. She made no move to actually sort of call the attention to herself.
Okay.
But she was so loving, and I was amazed by the gravity and the dignity in a child who was so young. And then there was this rooster, and you imagine roosters trying to run away and dodge, and but this creature was perfectly happy to be held by this child. I'm sure it had a lot to do with Lakshmi's own personality and the calmness with which she approached animals. And then there was Gundi. But I think what really inspired this thought, I mean, it got me thinking was, what is I when I got back to Chennai, I realized that I had not asked her whom the rooster belonged to. She just loved the
Okay.
rooster, and the rooster just loved her. She was holding on to the rooster, and she was talking to him, and then she was letting him go free. Like, so many kids, like, they sort of grab at animals, nothing like that. And I
Okay.
think what struck me the most was um, the fact that I forgot to ask her whether the rooster belonged to her or somebody else, because roosters often end up on somebody's plate. And how
Yeah.
much agency did this child have? I mean, this was her best friend. And what agency did she have? Like, how much would she be able to protect this creature if somebody came along and threatened its life? And that actually created this great sort of a sense of foreboding in my heart. And from there, it sort of the idea of the story came.
Yeah, because I mean, it's such a sweet story, and I think it's such a unique choice also, to have a rooster there. But also having said that, I have to give a quick shout out to the illustrator Fida Hamid. This is her debut book as an illustrator, and I think she's done such a wonderful job on the images of this story. And coming to that, I wanted to ask you, which are some of your favorite spreads in the book?
Um, I've been looking at this book and poring over it, and it's so hard for me to choose one particular illustration because Frida has recreated the world of Ponneri and of this little village. The colors that she's used, the manner
Yeah.
in which, I've shared photographs and things with her, but the manner in which she's captured the space, and for a, for she's supposed to be an intern, but with such maturity and such grace. And hi, Joanne. Thank you. I'm so glad you like the illustrations and the story. I'm not surprised by what you have to say about the illustrations. She's completely recreated the space, and in ways that are more beautiful than I could ever have imagined. So, if I say thank you to her, it's not enough because, as a writer with zero art skills, I have to say that it's, you're always so frightened to hand your book out to somebody and, kind of, you don't know what they're going to do with it.
Yeah.
This was beyond my expectations. Like even I thought the best illustrator, and then this girl outdid my expectations. So I just thought that, but just to, if I had to choose, absolutely had to choose, let me just try and hold it up. I
Yeah.
hope that you all can see it. Can you see it? So there is
Yes,
this
I
part
can.
where there's this part where Muttu, who's, I've named this child Muttu in the story. There is this part in which, she's a little afraid for her best friend's life. She's
Yeah.
not quite sure what's going to become of it. And so she panics, and then the only way she can make herself feel better is to sneak out of the hut in the night because the rooster does not belong to her, as you know.
Yeah.
And picks up the rooster and brings him home. And when her grandfather, when Tata wakes up in the night, he finds her sleeping, with her arms around the rooster. And he's very gentle to her. He loves the child. He feels very bad for, what could be an impending loss. And so he quietly picks up the rooster because he doesn't want the owner to, sort of freak out. And he puts the rooster back in its place. But can you see the way she's done it? I mean, there's a space created for the rooster. The rooster is fast
Yeah.
asleep, and then there are these feathers here that have
Yeah.
fallen out, which indicates that he's picked up the rooster from the child's arms, which is so sweet. I mean, this is amazing too, where
Yeah.
Fida is shown the way women go fishing. And then this one really, really got me. Was this final one, where Tata is the way he has his hand on the child's head, and the way the child is nurturing, like she's kind of holding the rooster in her arms.
Yeah.
And it was so touching. And I wrote the story. I didn't expect to be, unexpectedly touched by something like
Yeah.
this. So yeah, she's amazing. She's
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah, because I mean, the illustrations, I remember, I mean, because we got to see her work on it in the office, and it was insane the way she went about it. I think for me, my favorite spread I have to show is the very first one, actually. I love the way
Yes.
she's kind of just captured the entire sort of imagery of, like, from the first
In,
page, you're just like
in
hooked in.
cinematic terms, we call this an establishing shot. You know,
Yeah,
there's one shot that just immediately gives you the context and puts the viewer into the context of the space. Fida has just firmly planted the reader in the very first page, right into the context. So after that, you're in Ponneri, you're in,
yeah.
in this child village, and then
Yeah.
you don't get out for a very long time. So.
Yeah, it's lovely. But having said that, what prompted you to write this as a picture book? Because essentially this is a story that also could have been written for an older audience if you like really look at it. So what kind of inspired you that, hey, I want to write this as a picture book for kids?
Um, a lot of difficult subjects or relevant subjects these days, Sangeeta, they make me feel like I should write them for children because
Okay.
that's where the country is headed. It's into the hands of these children. And there's so much of polarization, so much of unkindness, so much of sort of mindless hatred that's going around, and the othering of anybody who is not exactly like oneself has become almost commonplace now, and nobody even questions it. It's almost okay, and it's accepted to hate somebody who's different from yourself. And so I think my aim was to kind of reach out to children. The adults already know, and they're already sometimes, very often, I think that they're already very set in their minds. But
Yeah.
the children are not, and there's still
Yeah.
hope that the country will pass into kinder hands. Yeah, that's the reason why it turned out to be, and it had to be a picture book, because how else do you show these differences in space, in in the scenery, in the way people look. The Irula
Yeah.
people are so distinctive and so powerful in the way they look, the way they dress, the way they live their lives. This was the best way, is to do it with pictures. So.
Yeah. No, for sure. I mean, it's a very sweet story, and like we spoke about the illustrations, but also just the fact that this story is set in an Irula fishing village. Was there any specific? There was the project, of course, you went on with your interns and all of that. But was there any specific research you did while writing this book in terms of getting the way people live, their culture? Are there any anecdotes you can share, while writing this book, if there's anything in the research that happened?
No, the research was so strongly aimed at the other project that we were doing. But
Okay.
Lakshmi really stayed with me. Her circumstances, and she was so, how do you say it? This is a child who'd seen a lot of trauma. To lose your mother at a very young age, and what even prompted her, she was a toddler when she started to look after her mother, who had mental health issues, and they didn't even know who her father was. And to come into this thing of this role of caregiving. I mean, this child was, she was a nurturer. It came
Yeah.
automatically to her. It was a very organic thing in her. And she just struck me. So, she was playing, she had all these animals. And so there was this little kitten that was crawling all over her. And I really wanted to be friends with Lakshmi. I liked her so much.
Okay.
So I reached for the kitten and I tried to take her. And I thought the child would pull the animal back, because so many times children are, they would be possessive. Why not,
Yeah.
Nothing. In fact, she wanted me to, and she's like, no, take it and hold and be gentle. And after that, she stood quietly. She didn't try to reach out or make any moves. but she was watching quietly with these very intelligent eyes and with a small smile on her face. And she wanted to make sure that this kitten was safe with this unknown adult. So
Okay.
this child really stayed with me. And then there was all the other research, and there was a lot of research that happened to study the circumstances under which, education was being sort of fostered in these children. How do they fish? How do they move? All of that is in this story. And maybe around two or three, and Lakshmi's story was something I wanted to tell, but I had no idea what I was going to say and how to tell it. And I was writing a whole different book, and I don't know what happened, Sangeeta. This idea just suddenly popped into my mind,
Wow.
and I just started writing it. And it happened in the course of maybe 2 hours. The whole book got written.
Wow. Okay.
It
Wow.
was,
I think it,
it just happened.
no, that's amazing. I think sometimes it happens, right? Like, you go through an experience or you meet some people and something just stays with you and you're just inspired to kind of reproduce something and you don't know what it is till it's on paper.
Sometimes I think the story writes itself because the
Yeah.
characters are so real. Like you
Yeah.
asked, why did it have to be a rooster? It had to be a rooster because Gundi was a rooster, and
Yeah.
it is true. It was, yeah.
Yeah, no, but it's very sweet. But having said that, the story, like you also mentioned, because I mean, obviously, you went into a sort of real life situation and you saw what was happening with also this girl, right? And what she was going through. And in a way, in the book also, you kind of, there are like themes of, say, class and prejudice. Those, it's kind of woven into the narrative, but it's still in a very happy, sweet, innocent space. How do you kind of manage to do that?
Um, I think what was most bewildering about this entire experience was, we have a very strong perspective on things based on our cultural context and on our socio-economic backgrounds. And it's
Yeah,
almost impossible to imagine the lives of others. We can only
yeah,
imagine the lives of others based on what we already know, and what we already know is usually within the confines of our own, backgrounds and our own
yeah,
sort of exposures, right? And this particular story, there was so much to, Sangeeta. To be honest with you, I think we come from a certain a privilege where we think that education is the solution to everything,
yeah,
right? It
yeah,
is. I mean, I don't want to undermine the power of education. I think it's probably the single most, powerful tool that's going to uplift our country,
yeah,
but or anybody, or humankind, or whatever. But in this case, you'll be surprised to know that education could possibly be the most detrimental thing, because if it's supposed to empower you and embolden you and teach you your rights and teach you and sort of to individualize you as a human being,
yeah,
there are people out there who could die for becoming, for becoming aware of their rights, because they're so low in the pecking order. There's a societal sort of hierarchy. You don't see police there. I the proceeds of this book, I plan to send to Lakshmi. Okay.
yeah,
I
yeah,
call up because I know the people there. I'm still in touch with them. I call up this lady who was the one who introduced me to Lakshmi, and I was like, "So Nalini, I would like to send her the money. How do I do it?" Can you believe that there is no way to send her the money? She doesn't have an
yeah,
Aadhaar card. She has nothing. So unless I go there and hand the cash over to her, she's still a minor. What is she going to do with that money? I have so many things. I
yeah,
wanted to maybe do some kind of a savings scheme for this child, like a Kisan Vikas Patra, something that she'll be able to use when she's older, only to find
yeah,
out that she's already stopped her education. Because when these kids, even if they manage to stay in school for a little while, there's so much of discrimination that they faced with in schools, in the
yeah,
government schools. They don't have bathrooms, toilets. They can't have baths. So the kids and the teachers sort of, keep them away because they don't smell so good. All of these
yeah,
things, and because the irregular, they're tribals, they're not considered to be important enough. All of these things put together, what is the solution to this? It's so difficult.
yeah,
But in a very, very difficult background, you suddenly find a child, and you find children playing on the beach. They're rolling
yeah,
around with the dogs. I think the only way they clean themselves is by rolling in the sand because there is no water to be had. The sea
Yeah.
water is brackish, right? How do you? And it's amazing to see that as you know, we are aware of all these things. So we think that, oh, poor things, they're so unhappy. Our children are in school. uh, our kids are studying nine to, all day long and they're not sleeping at night. These kids are playing on the
Yeah.
beach and learning from life and learning from animals and, they're getting sunlight and fresh air and, freshly cooked food without preservatives. And so there is joy. There is
Yeah.
kindness. I think when you turn to nature, nature is very kind.
Yeah.
Mankind is not so kind, but nature is very kind. And so, in the middle of all of these difficult, subjects, there was Lakshmi, and then there were so
Yeah.
many other children that we saw. And so, I think the joy also wrote itself into this grim background. The joy was spontaneous. That the
Yeah.
joy that emerged in this book.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, because it's a very heartwarming story. When you read it, you just like, I mean, there's a smile on your face at the end of it, without giving too much away. But it's just so lovely, and I'm so excited for people to really pick this up and read this. And of course, I mean, the illustrations, of course, with a fabulous job. I think overall, it's such a lovely. It's a story that I think will really stay with people. Having said that, what are you hoping for readers to take away from this book?
Just because, like I said, because we were not able to find a solution really to the overall problem. There's nothing we can do. You try to interfere, you will actually then topple or sort of upset a very, very fine balance. And people are actually negotiating from second to second in their lives to make peace with their circumstances, and not even peace, to make a go of their circumstances. And anybody coming from the outside is, it's almost um, it's almost egoistic to do something like that, like to think that we can come in and help them. But I think what I was hoping for readers to take away from this is just the awareness that there are other realities, so that we could
Yeah,
ourselves be a little less judgmental, a little
yeah,
less discriminatory,
yeah,
and to other people less, and to realize that it's just, it's all just, we're all just creations of a greater power,
yeah,
and maybe learn to be more tolerant and more loving.
yeah. Yeah, and on that lovely note, we have now come to the end of this book talk. But I also just want to add, we actually have a blog post by Aditi on our website. So I highly recommend, that everyone who's attended and even otherwise, please go read it. It kind of pretty much covers a lot of actually what Aditi spoke about today and a little more. So, you can go check that out as well. And having said that, please do pick up a copy of Will Goondi Come Home. It's now available in English and 8 other Indian languages. So please do show some love. You can pick it up from our website and our store. So yeah, please go ahead and do so. Thank you so much for being here, Aditi. It was absolutely lovely talking to you as always.
Thank you so much, Sangeeta. Thank you to Tulika for even just thinking of this book as worthy of being published, and of course, thank you so much, Vida. I don't know if she's here and if she's listening, but thank
Yeah,
you all so much.
yeah. Thank you. Okay, great.
Bye, bye, everybody. Thanks for being here.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.